Hi everyone, this is my first YouTube video, so this feels really weird to be doing this. I'm not the sort of person to film myself and then post it for all to see, so this is a bit out of my comfort zone, hence the sort of maybe this video might come across as a bit of beginner, because it is. This video is about body dysmorphia, my experience with body dysmorphia, my diagnosis, sort of my past events that I've had with it, and my feelings with what's happened in my past, what I do now, and what advice I would give to someone who is also suffering with body dysmorphia, for someone who also thinks they may be suffering with body dysmorphia or they have similar sort of experiences. So I just want to sort of start by saying, this could be a trigger for some people who have experienced body dysmorphia, who have just body image body image issues. I don't want to sort of not say this and then, you get to watch throughout the video, you get halfway and you think, actually, this has made me feel a bit uncomfortable. So I do sort of mention, obviously, my body dysmorphia experience, and I do kind of mention about eating disorders. So again, if that's something that's sensitive to you, just to be mindful that that comes up in the video, so you may want to turn off at a certain point. So now that that's out the way with, I would like to talk about my diagnosis and how I felt at the time, what it was like for me, and the sort of habits that I had at the time that I were sort of, it was a cycle of self-sabotage. So I feel like with body dysmorphia, you have habits or routines to make sure that you feel okay and that you can sort of try and function in your day-to-day life, but those habits actually end up making it more of a routine and harder for you to sort of get out from, if that makes sense. So I got diagnosed 4 years ago now. I basically got diagnosed because I was very ill in hospital. I lost a lot of weight. I lost all my confidence. I just felt like I was a shell of me. I didn't feel like myself at all, and it was a really difficult time. I've struggled with body image and self-esteem, but way before this time. So I can remember sort of my first experiences of comments from family, friends, when I was about 7 or 8 years old. So this has been going on for me, because I'm 25. This has been going on for me for quite a long time. And I've always felt, I think, growing up and having these comments from friends and family, that I wasn't good enough, that I had to sort of change how I looked because something wasn't right, something wasn't normal, because I was consistently getting these comments. So my diagnosis, it wasn't a surprise to me. It wasn't something that I thought, oh, my gosh, I did not see that coming. I had an idea that there was something not wrong, but there was something abnormal about the way sort of I was thinking and my thought processes, and how much I was obsessing over my body image, because it was a lot. So the sort of habits that I had were, I was constantly checking myself in windows, like car windows, shop windows, anything like that, in the mirror all the time. So before I left, it would be like a real thorough analysis of what I looked like and what I was wearing, making sure that I wouldn't be seen as thin to other people. I really cared about what other people thought of me and what other people sort of thought I looked like. In my head, I hated to think that someone would look at me and go, oh, she's so thin, or oh, she looks anorexic, or, and that might be a bit of an insensitive thing to say, but these were the thoughts that I had in my own head. This is not me saying that they were actually someone's thoughts, but that was what I was worried that people were thinking about me. So it was really hard to sort of just relax and be comfortable in public, just wanting to be myself. I felt like I had to look a certain way. So I was constantly checking to make sure that I looked okay in an outfit. And the reason why I sort of make that face is because when you look at it rationally, you sort of think, well, you should wear what you want to wear, you shouldn't care what people think. But when you're going through those sort of thoughts of, I am too thin, it's really hard to sort of shut that off and think I'm just going to be myself, because you're constantly doubting yourself, you're constantly critical of yourself. So after the diagnosis, I kind of thought to myself, okay, like, it's set in stone now. It's been said by psychologists that I have got body dysmorphia. It was quite severe. So I need to sort of do something about that. And I started therapy, I think a year after that actually, so it was quite a while. But I started therapy, and my experience with my therapist was, this is the first therapist that I saw, was I hit my first session, I sat down, and it was hard for me because it was obviously my first time in therapy, and I said, oh, I have body dysmorphia, like I have trouble with my body image. And this therapist goes, oh, is that from anorexia? So immediately, even as a therapist, who's someone who's supposed to be non-judgmental, someone who is supposed to be, completely congruent with you and say, this is your time. I'm not no assumptions. Therapists aren't meant to make assumptions at all. So immediately I was like, okay, someone's sort of validating that thought that I have of people look at me and think, oh, like she suffers with anorexia or has suffered with anorexia. So I really struggled with that, and I stuck with the therapist because I kind of thought I still want to work on other things. I want to try and sort of move past this, but that there should have been a sign for me to look for someone else. So I looked at therapy. I worked with therapy, and I also worked with sort of habits to sort of change and get myself out of those unhelpful habits, like looking in the mirror and all of that. So there was quite a long period of time where I covered my mirror up. I wouldn't allow myself to sort of check my outfits out in a long length mirror. What else did I do? I only wore outfits that I knew I felt comfortable in. I didn't sort of think, oh, I'm gonna like force myself to wear clothes that I'm not comfortable in. But at the same time, once I sort of got into therapy, once I worked through why I felt the way I did, I tried to experiment with wearing outfits that didn't make me feel really uncomfortable, but that I would have, umm'd about before. So I tried to like push myself a little bit, not too much, but push myself a little bit to go out and just see that, hey, like, wearing this outfit is fine. You're not going to get judged. You're not going to get sort of scrutinised for wearing it. So if I go back to sort of, again, a bit of my past experiences. So I've had comments growing up. I've had comments about, I can't even like tell you all of them, but some of them are like, even from family, you need more meat on your bones, do you eat anything at all? I've had friends say that I'm anorexic. That was a long time ago. That was in like secondary school. And it really, obviously, as it would anyone, it really makes you doubt yourself, and it really makes you feel like you're not good enough. So it kind of got to a point where, because this was this fear of people associating me with having an eating disorder, I kind of created a problem where, because I didn't want to be seen as someone who could have a eating disorder, I kind of created a disorder in response to that. So if I was out in public eating food, I would force myself or really pressurize myself to finish what was on my plate, even if I was full. So because I didn't want people to sort of take my plate away, or people who I was with to think, oh, she doesn't eat. It kind of makes sense because look at her, she's thin. So I really pushed myself to try and eat more, or to try and finish what was on my plate. And that became a habit. That became, I believe, some form of an eating disorder, even though it's not your typical, your well-known ones like anorexia and bulimia. I don't even know what you'd classify it as, but it was some form of disorder because it was something that I was continuously doing. So I created a problem by wanting to be seen as not having a problem. So it was kind of a vicious cycle. And it took me a while to sort of, again, get comfortable with the fact that I don't have to prove myself to anyone. I don't have to prove that I eat food. I know myself, and in myself, that I I'm healthy, that I eat enough. But it took a while to get to that point. It took a while to sort of accept the fact that no one else's validation was really necessary. It was just my own to know that I'm okay. So all in all, it's been a really sort of difficult journey, because it's not just something that shuts off and stops. It's these comments sort of come still at me. I feel like I can manage them better because I have had a lot of therapy. So that would be something that I would advise. I think if you are suffering with these thoughts and these habits, definitely look into sort of types of therapy that can help you. I had therapy with an integrative counsellor, so they had elements of CBT, which is cognitive behavioural therapy. So that basically looks at the habits and beliefs that you have and tries to change them, or like switch them for more positive habits. And I also had this counsellor worked in a person-centred way, which is a humanistic way, which basically means that they just sort of let you direct the session. You are sort of what you're talking about, whatever you want to talk about, and you sort of work a bit more on the deeper level of, you know, the emotions and why you feel that way about yourself. So that type of therapy really helped me, and it helped me to sort of try and change my mindset a little bit on how I was viewing myself and why I was viewing myself in the way I was. So I would definitely recommend that if you are suffering with body dysmorphia. I would also recommend, what else would I recommend? I think just, and this is sort of really kind of cliche to say, but from my experience, it's a lot of negative talk, a lot of negative self-talk, and those thoughts they're not positive, they're not sort of affirming you're enough of a person, you're good enough as you are, you don't need to change. So I would try and work on maybe how you talk to yourself, and even if that's changing one thing you say, you know, a day, if that's just sort of telling yourself one positive comment and repeating that comment, and doing that each day, that is something that can eventually become more of a habit, and then you start to sort of believe that in yourself, and that gets ingrained. It's really, really hard to sort of explain how I've come in a more positive direction out of with this body dysmorphia disorder, because I think there's still elements that I suffer with. I think with body dysmorphia, for me, I see myself as thinner than I actually am. So sometimes when, you know, my fiance, for example, he'll say, you know, you look really sort of, you've definitely put on weight, you look really full. And I'm looking in the mirror and I'm like, I don't know what you're seeing, but I'm not seeing the same body at all. Like, he's clearly trying to say this to make me feel better. This is not true. And it's really sort of a mind fuck, because your brain is showing you something that isn't actually there. So I would just say also to seek support from your family and friends. If you feel like you're having a bad day and you're really sort of disliking how you look, then don't be ashamed to sort of say to your family and friends or your partner, I'm having a bad day, I don't feel great about myself, I'm having these thoughts, I'm sort of wanting to perform these habits, I need just some support today or some reassurance. And that honestly can make the world of difference, because they are aware, they can help you sort of not distract you, but help you sort of step back from those habits a bit. So yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about today. I probably haven't covered a lot in there that I want to, so maybe I can do a second video, or if you have any questions below, pop them below. I am so new at this. I'm so new. If you have any questions, pop them below, and I can sort of take ideas as to what to post next, if it is something again about body dysmorphia. But thank you for watching. If you have watched all the way through, oh my god, it's a long video. If you have watched all the way through, I really appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.